Hey, welcome to The Explainer. We're all about breaking down really big topics into explainers that are super clear and hopefully pretty engaging.
So what really makes a teacher great? I mean, it's a question we've probably all thought about, right? And let me tell you, the answer is way more complex and honestly, more fascinating than you might think.
Because it's not just about, dumping a bunch of facts into someone's head. It's about sparking a journey of discovery. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go on this journey and explore what it really takes to be a teacher in today's world.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, the journey of a great teacher actually starts in a surprising place. It's not with the curriculum or the lesson plan. It starts with understanding the student.
And the first step in understanding them, it's all about one word: motivation. Think of it as the engine of learning. It's that invisible force that decides if a student is just kind of coasting along or if they're really leaning in, pushing through the tough spots to actually achieve something.
But here's the thing. Motivation isn't just one big blob. It kind of comes in two different flavors. You've got your intrinsic motivation. That's the internal fire, right? It's when you do something just for the love of it, out of pure curiosity. Then you've got extrinsic motivation. That's all about the external stuff: grades, rewards, avoiding getting in trouble. And look, both have their place, for sure. But the real magic, the true art of teaching, it's figuring out how to light that internal, intrinsic fire.
And a huge part of understanding students is recognizing that every classroom is this incredible mix of different learners. You'll have some who are just sprinting ahead. They're gifted, they're super curious, always ready for the next thing. And then you'll have others who are moving at a different pace, who might need a bit more time and a confidence boost. A great teacher, they're like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure to challenge the fast players while also supporting and guiding everyone else so the music comes together beautifully.
All right, so once you get your students, what's next? How do you actually teach them effectively? Well, that's where we get into the modern teacher's toolkit. And let me just say, we've moved way past the old sage on the stage idea, where the teacher just stands up there and lectures. Today, it's all about being the guide on the side. In this table, it shows that shift perfectly. Just look at the difference. A traditional lecture was just one-way communication. Now, it's interactive, it's got multimedia. A demonstration used to be teacher shows, you watch. Now it's teacher shows, and then you practice. The big takeaway here, the common thread through all of this, is one word: participation. It's all about getting the student involved. And a perfect example of this in action is something called the project method. This is where you really put the students in the driver's seat. You don't just ask them to memorize a bunch of facts for a test. No way. You give them a real-world problem, a real situation, and then you say, okay, figure it out. They have to plan, they have to work together, and they have to actually create something. It's learning by doing.
Another absolutely crucial tool in this modern toolkit is creating a multicultural classroom. And this goes way beyond just being nice. It's about intentionally building a space where every single student's background is not just accepted, but celebrated and woven into the lessons themselves. Because when you do that, when you make sure every student sees themselves in the material, that's when they feel seen, they feel valued, and they're truly ready to learn.
Okay, so we've got motivated students, we've got these awesome new teaching methods, but how do we actually know if any of it is working? How do we know if real learning is happening? Because if we're not just teaching facts to be memorized, then we can't just measure with a final exam that only tests memorization. It just doesn't work anymore.
And this brings up a really important idea: the difference between assessing for learning versus assessing of learning. Let me break it down. Formative assessment is like a check-in on your GPS while you're on a road trip. It's happening during the journey to make sure you're on the right track and to help you make adjustments. Summative assessment, that's like the photo you take when you finally reach your destination. It's done at the end to see how well you did on the whole trip.
And this might surprise you, but even something as simple as a multiple-choice question has to be designed really carefully to be any good. See, a great multiple-choice question doesn't just test if you can remember a random fact. The magic is in the wrong answers. They're called distractors. They have to be super plausible, so you can't just guess. You actually have to stop, think, and analyze what you've learned.
So when you put it all together, these ongoing check-ins and these more meaningful final tests, you get this bigger, more holistic idea called continuous and comprehensive evaluation, or CCE. The whole point is to look at the entire student, right? Their academic progress, sure, but also their social skills, their emotional growth, the whole shebang.
It's all about getting away from the insane pressure of that one big, all-or-nothing final exam.
But here's the thing. A teacher can be absolutely amazing, but their work doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's all part of a much bigger system. And that brings us to our last big piece of the puzzle, the legal and ethical stuff that holds it all together. Because at the end of the day, great teaching can only really flourish if the entire system is built on fairness and access for every single child.
And ensuring access is a huge part of that. A really powerful example of this comes from India's Right to Education Act from 2009. I mean, this was a landmark law. It mandated that 25%, a quarter, of all seats in private schools be reserved for kids from disadvantaged groups. That is a massive step towards leveling the playing field, making sure that your background doesn't dictate your future.
And really, that's what this is all about. That's the end goal, right? To build a truly inclusive education system. You can think of it like a building resting on three massive pillars. You need the strong legal framework, like that RTE Act. You need those smart, modern classroom strategies we've been talking about. And maybe most importantly, you need a core fundamental belief in equality and respect for everyone.
And, this isn't a new idea. This quote from the UNESCO Salamanca Statement, this was from 1994. It says, "Schools should accommodate all children, regardless of condition." It's such a simple but incredibly profound principle. It's a reminder that education is a universal right, and it's the system that needs to change to fit the child, not the other way around. So as you can see, the teacher's journey doesn't really have an endpoint. It's this continuous cycle of learning, of adapting, of growing. The art of teaching, well, it's not some finished masterpiece you hang on a wall. It's a living, breathing thing that has to keep evolving right alongside our ever-changing world.